Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Experts Market webinars. I'm Halbi, and I'm a part of the Expert Market team. And we are basically a marketplace for where you can book speakers, you can buy their books, you can register to their online courses, or you can book a consultancy session with them. Now, if you're a speaker yourself, you can actually register on our platform. However, if you're just a knowledge seeker, then you can check out our website. It only takes around 5 minutes or less. Now, we're going to be continuing with our theme titled Future Reimagined, Post-Pandemic Recovery and Renewal. We have a very special guest today with us. His name is Xavier Halbi, and he is a professional strategy and organizational behavior expert in improved customer service experience. He's as well as an author, a speaker, and a body language specialist. Now he's going to be talking to us about leadership in times of crisis, how you can take charge. Now, I think this is very beneficial for us because especially in a time like this. So before he can begin, I'd just like to let you know that there will be a discussion where you can engage with our speaker in the chat box, or there will be a Q&A session at the very end, so you can write down your questions on the little box titled Q&A, and our speaker will surely answer to them. So without further ado, help me welcome Xavier. Welcome.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Nihal. So today, leadership in times of crisis is obviously a very, very important point these days. We have been going through unprecedented times. We have been sharing tremendous changes in our way of life, really. We've had a lot of emotions going on, and people really have been going around without really looking to a secure future. And that is where this topic of leadership comes in place. Leadership is not only for big corporations. Leadership is not only for small corporations either. Leadership is also personal. So today, I wanted to share a couple of points that I've been gathering throughout many years of experience in the service industry, as well as my findings and my learnings throughout various sources of information, including psychology, including coaching, and a lot of different readings, as you see behind as well, that I've been applying always on the job. So today is really a digest of all this amassed knowledge and experiences and insights that I've been gathering today for you. So have you ever wondered why some people are thriving in crisis and why most people are suffering through crisis? And I think that is a very important question to ask ourselves so that we can better manage our lives and go on with our lives and going from surviving to living and going from living to thriving. But for that, we need obviously to go through our definition of what crisis is. So what is crisis? Crisis maybe is very important to us. Maybe there is a link with the word or the sound of cry, and that is very unfortunately getting into under our skin, getting us very emotional. Going back to current times actually, but back in thousands of years ago, if you look at the ancient philosophies, especially in the Far East, crisis in Chinese is wei ji, 2 characters. The first one is danger. But very interestingly, the second one is actually opportunity. So in the end, crisis is a way of looking at the situation, is a way of perceiving what we're all facing. 2 individuals in the same environment, in the same event, in the same situation will have totally different ways of perceiving and therefore receiving what is going on around them, and therefore taking action accordingly. So I believe that remembering that the word crisis, as bad as big as it sounds, is actually can be segregated into this and really looking into the opportunity. Now, leadership. What is leadership? And leadership is a big word. It has been talked a lot about. There are countless sources, countless gurus in leadership, amazing amount of material and volumes of work that has been written about leadership. And I'm not here to go through the definitions and condensing all this information over there. It's vastly categorized already. But just to frame in that presentation, leadership has two aspects: what is seen and what is unseen and lying underneath the leader. What is seen is the connection that we have, that we see the leader have, and the decisions that that leader is making. We see the people that the leaders are connecting to, and how the leader is using these resources, these people around, because it's never just a one-man job. And we see the communication. Leaders tend to communicate a lot. They communicate their vision, they communicate with people, they communicate with the outside world in and out of the organization. What we do not see is the discipline that these leaders have. The discipline of self-introspection, self-discovery, continuous progressive learning. What we don't see is the accumulation of the hard work, of the mindset that they've had, compounded into big results from the little things that are done consistently. As I said, there's a lot of information out there that is going to give you a lot of ideas, a lot of traits of leadership and why we need leadership and why not companies are not thriving because of the lack of leadership. And I like to summarize all that really with a metaphor. Imagine in a harbor, a ship. There is no crew, there is no captain, and there's no heading. What is the ship going to do? Where is the ship going to go? And leadership, for me, is this component of these three key points. A leader needs people who follow them. Now, the big question is Kim Kardashian, with almost 180 million followers on Instagram, a leader? Well, does the leader have a heading? Does the leader have a vision? Does the leader communicate that vision and entice people to follow them, because that is going to change the life of the people who are going to follow? And does it reflect the lifestyle that that leader is having for himself or herself? So today, I want to share with you characteristics, and you will that will clarify a lot the understanding of why people behave in certain ways and why leadership is so needed, because there are totally different characteristics of people during a crisis and a leader during a crisis. So let's start with the people. Here are some characteristics, and these are generalization. This is more of a trend of what people display in the characteristics during a time of crisis. Again, reminding you that crisis is really about the perception, right? So the first one, people in times of crisis are externally referenced. That means that these people are looking for somebody else to make decisions for them. They are looking for somebody else to tell them what to do, to guide them. They are also procedural. I will go to optional later. That is the opposite of it. Procedural means that you also need, you as a leader, need to explain to that person what to do next. You've heard many times, I'm sure, what do I do? What should I do? These people, externally referenced, need you to tell them what to do in a progressive manner. First you do this, then you do that. They are also away from. Away from means that they are avoiding something. You either go towards something, a heading, an aim, a goal, or you're avoiding something else. Avoiding danger, usually. And again, because it is about perception, it is about how we perceive that danger to be. They also have, and that is where the trick is, that's where people tend to go into headless chicken mode, running around without knowing what to do, because they're also towards, they want to achieve something. They want to achieve a goal. Now, this goal can be conscious or unconscious. The conscious goal is, I want to get out of the situation, away from the danger, and I want to go into a secure place. I want to go into a comfort zone. Whether they know it or not, they have as well additional goals within at a lower level in the psyche that is pushing them and pulling them towards what they really want to have. They are also looking for sameness. Sameness is, well, the opposite of differences. So a person who's looking for sameness, somebody who's always looking for similarities, the known, the comfort zone is sameness, because they are afraid of the unknown. And that is one of the big issues that we've been having over the last 3-4 months in this lockdown period, is that we do not know what the future holds. What is very interesting is that it makes us realize really that we never really knew what was going on anyway in the future. We have only that power of action, which is right now, to create our future. And this situation has forced us really to retrench and come back to ourselves eventually, willingly or not, pleasantly or not, to find out what is really motivating us. And finally, one of the main characteristics of people in crisis is that they are reactive. And that is slightly different from the external reference, because people who are reactive are not going to be engaging into finding ideas, into finding solutions. They are problem-oriented, not solution-oriented. And I'm sure you've had a lot of people around. Some people are very, very good at that, telling you what the problem is. But they don't come up with any solutions or any options whatsoever. They are just reactive. And once you put all these 6 points together and blend them, because they're all interrelated, you start to see and realize what is going on in the mind of people and why they behave the way they behave. This is very, very important as a leader to know these points, because that allows you to adapt and to tackle and to discuss with these people for each of these points, knowing what they need in order to move forward. Now I would like to go through the characteristics of leaders in times of crisis, and ideally they would display also all these characteristics. Now, first of all, internally referenced. They are decision makers, they are decisive in their decisions, and they do not wait for people around them to tell them what to do. They intuitively, they know what to do. in their guts. They have the knowledge, they have the experience, and they are in tune with themselves to know what needs to be done. And they are decisive about it. They are both procedural and optional. Like I was explaining the procedures, people need A, B, C, do this first, then second, then third. Another mindset, another characteristics or way of looking at tasks is actually options. And there's nothing right or nothing wrong. There are just two different types and two different characteristics and two different aspects of receiving information, processing information, and acting accordingly. People who are optional are people who do not see what's the next step and the next and the next and the next. They see all the options available to them, and then they choose. And when I say they are procedural and optional, they have that flexibility of looking at the big picture, helicopter view, whatever people name it. They see all the options, and then they know, once they make the decision, they know what next to do. They are proactive. They take action. The worst thing to do is when you're stuck, and I have experiences coaching some people who were depressed, some people who felt stuck at work, at home, in their personal life. The worst thing to do is not to do anything. And that's why these people barely survive, because they are just waiting. A leader is proactive. A leader is not waiting for things to happen, wait and see. The leader will say, let's do something. I will paraphrase Richard Branson saying, let's do it. It's also Nike's logo and motto, right? Towards. A leader has a goal. The captain has a heading. A captain, the leader, knows where he or she wants to go and is decisive about it. Now, how to get there is another discussion altogether. That's where the procedure and the option is coming in place. But once you have a goal and you zero down on that goal, the horizon, that island, the top of the mountain, how you go about it, you have to be flexible enough to get there. But towards you go. Sameness and differences. Leaders understand the difference, but as well the sameness of the situation. The leader will understand that nothing is going to be the same ever. There is constant change, constant evolution. When I hear people say, going back to normal after COVID, there's no normal. That is the new norm. There's no going back to what it was before. We've never been back to where it was before. Sure, there are cycles in the life of the planet and life of civilizations. There are rises and falls and changes and turmoils and wars and moments of enlightenment. They are cyclical, but they are never the same. We are evolving as individuals. You're not the same as you were 5, 10 years ago. Civilizations, our culture is not the same as it was 5 years or 10 years ago, even though we seem to go through something similar. It is something similar. And the leader will understand the difference between these two. And the leader is also aware of what is going on around, aware of, first of all, themselves. Leaders ideally have such a strong understanding of who they are, what they stand for. That's why people follow them. That they put their presence in here. They are just here, and people have no option but to see them and to notice them. They are aware of the people around them, of their surrounding and their environment. They are aware of the potential dangers. They are aware of the opportunities. Remember the two characters in Chinese. They are aware of all of that. And once you put all these 6 points together and blend them together, you understand how they correlate to each other and how they are forming and shaping that mindset of a leader through their filters and their characteristics and their behavior that is reflective of all these points. At the end of my book, Strategic Footsteps, I mention how to resolve conflict. And that is from many years of experience in the hospitality industry, being at the front with clients, sometimes complaining, sometimes not. And I just put that very simply, and I say, it is about putting things in perspective. Put things in perspective. And put, P-U-T, it stands for pause. Don't be emotional, just pause. Understand the situation. Understand the person in front of you. Understand where you are standing right here, right now. And then transcend. Transcend the understanding of where you are and where that person is. Understand where you and your team are and the situation around, and come above. Again, higher picture, higher view, above the situation, so that you understand how to put them together to find a third option. And as you've heard me talking about all these points that are reflected in our behaviors and in the behavior of people during the crisis and the leaders as well during crisis, all this stems from the mindset. I'm so much into talking about mindset and how everything stems from the mindset. These were characteristics that I was listing before, and that are not innate because they can be learned. But the mindset, that is something altogether different. So the leader's mindset, understand the power of example. As an example, you might have heard many times the expression that says, lead by example. Actually, you're not leading by example. You are an example. There is always somebody watching. No, that sounds bad, say it like this. But there's always somebody who's looking at others. Remember that a lot of people are externally referenced. They're looking around. When you go to a party for the first time, or not even for the first time, when you go to a group where people are already there before lockdown, you look around, assess the room, see who is there. It happens the same way the other way around. There is always somebody looking at you. You are not leading by example, you are an example always. Being aware of that is not to be self-aware and self-conscious on how to behave and how to talk. It's about knowing that you don't have to force yourself. A leader's mindset, obviously, as I was mentioning about the heading of the captain on the ship, a leader has a vision and the direction. A leader is towards goal-oriented, aim-oriented. A leader has confidence and is decisive about their decision. It doesn't mean that the leader is a hard nut to crack. It doesn't mean that you have to be, I made my decision, I will live with it until the end of my life. If you're going to hit a wall because you're aware of what consequences can happen and you're aware of the danger around, and you have people around you, surrounding you, advising you, it doesn't mean that you have to go through that wall. But having the options visible to you, that will allow you to say, what do I do with that wall? Do I climb the wall? Do I go around the wall? Do I dig under the wall? What are my options? But you have the confidence that everything will be fine and you will find a way to your goal. A leader, I remember what I was suggesting at the beginning is that leadership is very personal as well. A leader has clarity. Clarity of the vision, clarity in the way they express themselves and they communicate. It's very interesting how to hear scientists, doctors in their fields, trying to express themselves about something that is so clear in their head somehow, but they put us off because the way they express themselves is very technical, is very different than what we are used to use as a vocabulary. They use technical word, jargon, and all the rest of it that makes us confused. And that's what I like to do, is to always to simplify and to make things more approachable and understandable for people to use for themselves, and always to use outside of work as well. They are very clear in their openness. There's nothing to hide, a leader will tell you, because the leader understands and knows that clear understanding and clear knowledge is better. As we put so many minds together, it is a system thinking. It is an organism, and the leader will take ownership of the situation. The leader will take responsibility, and responsibility is to be able to respond, is response ability. Adaptability is a mindset that a leader will display and will have in the background, running like a background program in their heads, of looking for opportunity. And I know that opportunities, the word opportunist has been used and abused somehow, and misconstrued and misunderstood, and now it's pejorative and it's negative. And I like to call myself now a possibilitist. And that is because you can have the flexibility to adapt to circumstances. Adaptability is maybe one of our biggest curses as a human species. Third world countries, people who are starving, adapted to the situations. People in the streets, starving, have adapted to the situations. And when organizations and people, kind-hearted, with all the good intentions, try to help them, they don't want help. Why is that? Because they adapted to the situation. They're back into the same nest. Now that is their habit. That is their comfort zone. But adaptability is also one of our greatest strengths. We can adapt to situations, tough situations, tough crises, tough moments in the history of the planet has led us to where we are with the technology that we have, with everything and all the utilities and the possibilities and the tools that we have to connect and be able to do this kind of communication. I was watching this morning again 2 hours of Napoleon Hill, who wrote Think and Grow Rich, a recording for 2 hours. And I was imagining a mobile phone in the room where he was. I was imagining a computer instead of these big cameras with a big camera roll, and the person rolling the roll behind and recording that. And it's amazing what we've gone through since then. Adaptability is one of the strongest points here. And a leader is rational as opposed to emotional. You've heard the expression, that person is too emotional, we can't talk to that person. And it is not to deny or push away emotions. Emotions are so strong, are so important, because our emotions are linked to our deeper psyche. Our emotions are linked to our knowledge in our guts. Follow your gut feeling is the expression, right? The emotions are going to help you, tell you if your decision makes sense or not. Now, makes sense is in the head, right? Feels right. Does that decision feel right? But the problem is that emotional people are only listening to the emotions. They are not using the power of their mind and the power of their mindset. And that's where here I mentioned rational as opposed to emotions, because I want to make the big distinction between the rational, the head, and the heart. And again, it's about blending the two. But as the mind goes, usually you go from one extreme to the other before adjusting. So I'm suggesting rational as opposed to emotional to adjust in between. And not of being rational doesn't mean that you should not be empathetic, understanding, relating from heart to heart, as they say in Japanese, ishi den shin. It is about understanding what that person is going through. Yes, the bullet points that I gave above in the above slides about the characteristics of people in the crisis are very important to understand through the mind. But we need to relate as well to them and understand and relate and have that rapport of remembering that we went through similar times as well ourselves. Even if it was not in the past 10, 15 years, it might have been in our youth as well. But relating to that and understanding that we grew out of that. What I would like to summarize all of that is that there are three keys to leadership during a time of crisis. The first one is awareness. I referred to that previously in the previous slides. And awareness is encompassing the external and the internal. Being aware of what is going on is having that ability, that discipline, if you remember the iceberg, to pause and take a breath and analyze rationally and use our emotions to assess what is going on without and within. Balance. As I was referring to earlier, the mind goes from one extreme to the other before finding balance, finding the middle way in Buddhism. That is balancing all the options, being centered, and finally being mindful. Mindfulness is about the awareness that is not only around and within, it is about the awareness of that razor sharp focus on this specific moment. And if you're still with me now, I would like you to take any point, maybe on your computer, on the device that you're using, any small point. It could be a crack on your phone, it could be the light on the camera or anything. And just for 2 seconds, 5 seconds, just focus on that. And just look at it deeply. And just look at that as if nothing else ever mattered. And once you are in that state, you will realize that you have no problem. You realize that right now, when you are focusing on that specific point, everything right now is fine. And when you step out of that moment, as short as it was just now, 10, 15 seconds, you have detached yourself from that situation. You don't have the blinds anymore of what do I do, what do I do? You're not between first gear and second gear like the people in times of crisis. Imagine a Ferrari going always on first gear, second gear, first gear, second gear, towards, away, towards, away, towards, away, not going anywhere, eventually crashing the engine. That is the ability to detach yourself from the situation to be able to make decision. And I would like to finish with a quote that has been helping me tremendously for the past 10 years. And that is this one, that circumstances what is around you do not matter. What matters is your state of being. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your attention. And I'm sure you took some things out, and I would encourage you to maybe take notes of what you've got for yourself and how you can apply this not only in your organization, not only at work, but also in your personal life. I truly believe that leadership is internal. And as I like to say, is that there's no such thing as it's just business. Everything is personal. It is about the person. So thank you very much. I think we'll open for Q&As now. Any questions? You're welcome. Yes, there's a question. Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. Was that your question? All right. What do you do when your leader or boss isn't leading empathically? Oh, very, very good question. It is, wow, that is a big one. I've gone through very, very tough times myself in the past. And some leaders, well, that's the thing. So it's funny because you're using the word leader and boss, right? And I think that you've pointed, I think the answer is exactly in your question, is that a boss and a leader can be two different things. And a boss can be totalitarian. I had a boss once who was saying, I am very democratic. You all give me your ideas and I make the decision, which is fine. That's the one way of doing it. But first of all, I would go back to what I was suggesting earlier, is to put things in perspective, to pause and understand, raise your awareness where that person is going through, that person's characteristic and mindset is. Understand and find out what you, okay, I see that you're coming back with the advantage as well. Yes, there are some valid and some invalid excuses, but you're right again, there are excuses. What I would like to suggest is that you understand what that person is at, what characteristics that person have, that boss's internal filters, what characteristics is that person towards or away from. It happens very often, actually, Kevin, you will notice that that boss of yours is actually trying to avoid something and is just passive aggressive and is not having a clear goal into what that boss wants to do, and therefore thinks that as the boss, he or she needs to take the lead and tell people what to do and say, guys, it's my way or the highway because I'm in charge, and if the thing's not going right, I'm getting bamboo on top of that, right? Understand that person, then understanding yourself and understanding what do you want out of that boss, what do you want out of that relationship with that person, what do you want out of that situation. And what I like to go for is a technique that is very, very useful, is what is it that you want about that situation, right, at that work? And why is that important for you? And ask yourself that question again, why is that important? That answer, whatever that answer comes in, as a reply. Use your head, use your heart. Why is that answer? Why is that important for you? And you answer again. and ask again a third time, whatever answer you have on the second reply. Why is that important for you? And then find out what is your intention, what is your boss's intention. See if going up into what's important, why is it important, why is it important, if you bridge the gap and if you meet to a common goal, a common intention, a common direction. And it might happen, that you end up finding that you both have the same direction, the same intentions for yourself, for the company, for your team, for people around. And it might happen that you do not have the same direction. And sometimes you just have to follow the path of least resistance for you. The question that I have for you, Kevin, and I know it was a long answer, but I'm sure it's helping a lot of people around as well. Ask yourself, do you prefer to be right, or do you prefer to feel good? I'm sure that will help some people out there as well. Can you explain how to balance what you're losing day by day in our business life? Hamayu, you're talking about losing what specifically? You're welcome, Kevin. What are you losing? I'll let you reply to that while I take another question. So now we will in Corona time, which is extremely hard. But when more circumstances around us are also hard, like the local authorities who could not manage this time, and it's affecting my business. How should I do to continue surviving? All right, so right here, Galaxy S9 Plus, you are in the survival mode. That's where the answer that I was giving to Kevin as well, the question that I was asking Kevin as well, is very important for you to ask yourself as well. What do you want? Why? What do you want out of your business? The why. And I know the why has been accredited to some recent people, which remain nameless, because actually this question, or the why, has been there for hundreds of years in the development industry and the people business growth as well. What is your why for your business? What is it that drives you? What is important about that? Answer that. And ask again, why is that important for you? Answer that. And why is that important for you? And the second thing, or third point for you, Galaxy S9 Plus, is what options do you have? Find options. There are opportunities. And here's about leadership, but I gave a webinar about for businesses specifically recently, and there's a saying, once you jump out of the plane, right, and then you're asking, okay, so what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? I don't have a parachute. What do I do? And the answer is just hang on. It's going to be over soon. And that means basically that there are things sometimes that you have so much momentum, they just have to let it go, relax. And it is when you relax that actually you're clearing your mind and ideas will come. But for that, you need to detach yourself from the situation where you're in. And you see my body, like Nihal was saying, body language, right? You feel constricted, you feel constrained, you're in the situation. Is about detaching yourself from that situation so you can see clearly. There's an expression in ancient Chinese that was saying the person who's watching a chess game plays better than the chess players themselves, because you see clear, you take a step back, you have a big picture, and you can see the pieces moving, you can see the connections, you can see the correlations, the action and reaction, the moves, the possibilities. Try to detach yourself from that. What do you do if, Hamayon, sorry, you came back with opportunities and money. Thank you. So can you explain how to balance why you are losing day by day opportunities and money. Thanks, Ali. While you're losing opportunities and money day by day, it is not funny, and that's for sure. That's for sure. I'm going to share what I do. I've had my time as well, the not so pleasant time, the situations of not being able to travel. It's one day yes, one day no. It keeps on changing, and the uncertainty, right? What I refer to with so I had a team of 450 people in one of my previous hotels I was managing, and I was doing some webinars. Now I'm working for a hotel, working for a global project for the company, but I was asked to do some webinars for them as well, exactly about that question. They're on furlough, they are not working, not paid, some of them half paid or what have you, and stuck in the studio. What I do, I meditate. I have a routine, and the routine, as small as it can be, it doesn't matter, even if it's about just having a coffee every single day at the same time, or tea, or a glass of water. Build a small routine. And why is that routine important? It's because, like I was explaining before, the current times give us the uncertainty, but people want certainty. Although now, again, we realize that you cannot be certain about anything. But that routine gives you something to look forward to, hopefully. Hopefully you build a routine that is engaging for yourself. And that is giving you a bit of certainty for the next step. Remember procedures? We tend to follow, and we tend to have a procedural mindset once we're in crisis. So knowing what the next step is will get you by and will help you go from surviving to living. And that is a step-by-step process. It can be very fast. It doesn't have to take forever to go through that change. You know, it is a change cycle. But that will help you step by step, finding your balance. It is about the mindfulness that I was mentioning earlier. That's where meditation can help. Exercise can help others. Yoga can helps others as well. Exercising yourself and using energy, right, to focus. I know people who go on the run and that helps them focus. For me, I can't do that. If I go on the run, I start daydreaming. But anything that helps you, eating that elephant bite by bite. So what do you do if in your group there are 2 or more leaders? I'm telling my daughter there's only one alpha male, or there's only one alpha. It can be only one. Who should you follow? Who should you prioritize? I believe that there cannot be 2 leaders. I believe that because 2 leaders, even though they might have the same aiming, the same direction, they will have different styles. And I suggest that you go with the one leader that has a style that is more appropriate to you. Now, unless you're talking about if there are 2 bosses at work and I'm reporting to 2 different people, that's another topic altogether. And that's a whole other discussion on how to manage the politics at work. Politics, I'm just going very quickly through that. Politics for me is, the definition is different people with different agendas. One wants this, one wants that. And it's like opinion. Everybody has one. And they're going to fight for it. The question is, if they fight for it like the 2 elephants in the room, and you're under, waiting for things to happen, or for China were to break around in that shop, right? If that's the case, then it's a whole other way of managing that. And I think it's a whole other webinar that we need to have just for that, on how to manage politics. I have a webinar ready as well for that. I gave it. It's very, very interesting because there are lots of tools actually to understand who wants what, who needs what, how people tick, and what people, how to identify actually what styles, working styles, thinking styles each of these individuals have. Thank you for that question. That's a very, very interesting one. An anonymous attendee. Okay, how can I manage work, family, and full-time study? Ooh, busy, busy. That's good. What do you mean by managing? Are you talking about multitasking, which I don't believe in, by the way? So let me touch on multitasking. Why I don't believe in multitasking? Because science has proven actually that the mind focuses on one thing at a time. What, ladies, calm down, please calm down. What we call multitasking is the capacity for the mind to go from one topic to the other so rapidly that it seems that you're doing two things at the same time. Now, there's one thing about meditation, mindfulness, or a meditative mind. It was in the Himalayas. There's a Tibetan monk and his master. And the disciple asked, "Master, what is meditation?" And the master says, "Do you see the stars in the sky?" "Yes, master." "Do you hear the dog barking in the valley?" "Yes, master." "Do you smell the grass and the flowers?" "Yes, master." That is meditation. And what that means is that meditation is the opposite of self-talk, which, by the way, rules our lives most of the time. Have you ever noticed that actually we spend more time with people in our heads that we are meeting face-to-face or even through camera? We're always thinking back, whoa, oh my God, what did I say? What did he say? What did she say? What is he thinking? We're spending more time with them in our heads. And that's where meditation is helping. There's not one way of meditating. There's so many, countless ways. Is a way of calming the self-talk so that you can just get that information in. Your eye catches a lot more peripheral vision. You might have heard about, right? You catch so much more information than by focusing. However, that is helping dissociate and get out of the situation. However, to go back to your question, managing work, family, and full-time study. I have a question for you. What do you mean by managing? Are you in the situation trying to manage, or are you out of the situation and trying to manage? Are you in the system, working in the system, like Charlie Chaplin in the factory, or are you out of the system and working on the system? Exactly. So the work, family, and study. I suggest to eat that elephant bite by bite, bit by bit, by focusing. Our minds are scattered these days. They are, look at the shiny object. Oh, look at that. Open the TV, and what do you hear? Oh, crisis over there. No, 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 crisis over there. Oh, crisis over there. Oh, this and that. We are scattered. We're not focused anymore. That is such a pain. It hurts, doesn't it? Focus on just one thing at a time. Allocate time if you can. Can you reconcile these three elements of your life? And I would suggest as well, maybe on top of work, family, and full-time study, is to add some personal time, right? Do you 80-20? What do you spend 80% of your time that gives only 20% of results? What do you spend 20% of your time that generates 80% of your results? Do that study. I did one day, I took an agenda and I said, okay, at this time, this is what I do usually as a trend on a regular week. This is what I do usually, then I do this, then I do this, then I do this. And I'm realizing how much time I'm spending on emails, how much time I'm spending on other things, futile things, and that are not helping me with my direction, with my goal. But once you have a goal clearly defined for work, family, personal study, or full-time study, and for yourself, have goals for each of them, then you can get rid of whatever is not important into these, for these 4 areas to reach your goal into these 4 areas. But I have a trick here. Find out for yourself, what is it that is so important for you, and that what is the trend, what is so important for you in these 4 areas. What is so important for you about work, what's so important for you about family, about full-time study, and about your personal time for yourself. You might see, you might notice, I don't know, find out for yourself. You might find out that there's one common point, and that will allow you already to blend that goal for these 4 different areas of your life. And have, maybe potentially you could have a schedule and say, okay, every day from this time to this time, this is work. And then be disciplined. You remember under the iceberg, be disciplined about what you're doing and say, I'm disciplined because I have a goal and I'm going to go for it. I'm disciplined, and whatever I say I do for myself, it's a routine, it's an agenda, it's using time slots in my agenda and my work, and I will stick to that no matter what, because that's my goal over there, right? Family time is family time. Take the phone, take the laptop, throw it out, put them aside, and then focus, 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 focus. Once you focus on one thing at a time, you'll do it right. You'll have your whole mind, your whole attention. You will have your mindful mind fully in it. And I guarantee you that if you do that as often as you can to be fully present, your life, your mind, the people around will start changing. I think we're perfectly on time. Maybe one last question, or maybe I talk too much with these questions, with his answers. But I hope all of this has been helpful for you. And please get in touch as well. I have feel free to get in touch on LinkedIn. I have as well the book I was mentioning, but also my website. If you want to have more talks and anything else, feel free. I'm very, very happy. There's something that I cannot hold for myself, is whatever knowledge, insights, experience, I need to share it, because I believe that we all have the right to reach our potential. We all have the right to better our lives. And that starts with taking ownership of our lives. That's the leadership that I was referring to about yourself. Get that for yourself to change your life, change the lives of others. But it starts with your own porch. Clean up your own porch, get back in, and get out there.
Amazing.
Thank you very much.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nihal.
And thank you for taking out time from your schedule to join us. And thank you also to the attendees for engaging and for joining us and for asking your lovely questions. Oh, there's one more question. When will you be next time online? Someone's asking.
Excellent. From Australia. From Australia. Oh, hi, Australia. Hi. Sorry, when will it be next time online? Online? I'm online. What do you mean by online? You need to ask Nihal when she's going to invite me next.
We can arrange for that. We can arrange for that. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And we have another upcoming webinar on the 13th. So please make sure you can attend, and every one of our attendees are most welcome to attend as well. And yeah, we will see you there, hopefully. And thank you again.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Bye.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah.